My parents told me I wasn't worth a birthday gift, so I bought myself a car, blocked them, and posted it with zero explanation. I'm a 27-year-old guy. I can't remember the last time my birthday actually felt like something worth celebrating. Growing up, it was always the same and awkward dinner, few forced smiles, and maybe a happy birthday text from my parents if they remembered. No effort, just obligation. I used to tell myself it didn't matter, that I was above caring about something as small as a birthday. But deep down, it always stung. It wasn't about the present sit, it was about being seen. This year was supposed to be different. I've been working non-stop, saving every extra dollar, and trying to pull my life together after years of feeling like the family disappointment. I finally got promoted, paid off a chunk of debt, and started feeling proud of myself for once. Maybe, I thought, they'd notice. Maybe this year they'd remember I'm still their son, not just the background character in their perfect little family picture. A week before my birthday, I called my mom just to check in. I didn't mention the date. I wanted to see if she'd bring it up. She didn't. When I finally hinted, she laughed and said, "Oh, you're too old for that now. Adults don't need gifts, honey." That one line hit harder than I expected. I hung up with a polite laugh, pretending it didn't bother me, but it did. It always does. It's strange how people can raise you your whole life and still make you feel invisible. I sat alone that night, scrolling through old photos, wondering when I became someone unworthy of celebration. Maybe I always was, and I just refused to see it. Still, something inside me shifted that night. A quiet anger. A realization that this would be the last birthday I'd ever spend waiting for their validation. Because this time, I was going to give myself the gift they never did. I used to think all families had favorites, that it was normal for love to come with conditions. But in my house, it wasn't just favoritism. It was hierarchy. My older brother, Ethan, was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong, even when he did. Every success of his was celebrated like a national holiday. Every mistake of mine was treated like proof that I was ungrateful, lazy, or too sensitive. When Ethan turned 18, my parents surprised him with a car, a shiny silver sedan wrapped with a bow. I still remember the way my mom cried from pride, saying, "You've earned this, sweetheart." 2 years later, when I turned 18, my dad tossed me his old bus card and said, "Be responsible. You're more independent than your brother." I laughed then, but it wasn't funny. It was a quiet kind of pain that sticks, like being reminded you're second place in your own family. Even now, as adults, the pattern never changed. My parents helped Ethan with the down payment on his house. When I asked for advice on buying a used car, they said I should learn to budget better. It's not that I expected money. I just wanted the same belief they had in him. But somehow, I was always the problem. Whenever I brought it up, they'd gaslight me. My mom would say, "We love you equally. You just take things too personally." And my dad would nod in agreement. But love shouldn't feel like being compared, minimized, or constantly reminded of how you fall short. I've spent my whole life trying to earn the affection they gave away so freely to him. But that night, after hearing I wasn't worth a gift, I realized something terrifying. Maybe I was never supposed to win their love, because they'd already decided who deserved it. A few days before my birthday, something unusual happened. My mom called. Her tone was softer than usual, almost cheerful. She said, "Don't make any plans for Saturday night. We're doing a family dinner." And my dad even chimed in from the background, saying there was a little surprise waiting. For a moment, I let myself believe it. Maybe they'd finally remembered. Maybe, just maybe, this would be the year I wasn't the afterthought. That fragile hope felt dangerous, but I clung to it anyway. I even bought a new shirt, something decent enough for pictures, in case they finally wanted one with me. When I arrived at the restaurant, the table was already full. My parents, Ethan, and his fiancée. Balloons, cake, and even a wrapped box sat in the center. My mom beamed when she saw me. "You made it," she said. I sat down, heart pounding, trying not to look too excited. Then my dad raised his glass. "Everyone, let's give a toast to Ethan for getting promoted to senior manager." The table erupted with clapping and laughter. My smile froze midair. Ethan grinned proudly, pulling the wrapped box toward him and unwrapping a sleek silver watch. My mom turned to me, handing me a thin envelope. Inside was a generic greeting card that said, "We're proud of you too." Signed Mom and Dad. No gift. No real sentiment. Just a placeholder, like I was a footnote in my brother's celebration. I laughed softly to keep from shaking. My mom said, "Don't be so quiet. We're celebrating family success." But I wasn't celebrating anything. I sat there, trapped in the noise, the laughter echoing in my ears like static. Something cracked inside me that night, not from anger, but from realization. They hadn't just forgotten me again. They'd replaced me at first. I tried to swallow it, the tightness in my chest, the ache behind my forced smile. But when my mom leaned across the table, laughing about how Ethan always makes us proud, something inside me broke. I took a breath and said quietly, "You know, it could have been nice if this dinner was for both of us. My birthday's tomorrow." The air went still for a second. My mom blinked, then scoffed. "Oh, come on. Don't make everything about you," she said, waving her hand like she was swatting away a fly. My dad sighed loudly, his signature move before a lecture. "This is exactly why we can't have a peaceful evening," he muttered. "You're always looking for reasons to feel victimized." I stared at them, disbelief turning to anger. "I'm not asking for attention. I just wanted to feel included for once." My mom tilted her head with that pitying smile she always used when she wanted me to feel small. "We've always treated you fairly. You're just overly sensitive." Ethan chuckled and shook his head. "Man, you're being dramatic again. It's just dinner." That word dramatic hit like a slap. It wasn't the first time I'd heard it. Every time I tried to stand up for myself, that's how they silenced me. I realized I could shout until my voice broke. They'd still twist it until I was the problem. I pushed back my chair slowly, my heart hammering. No yelling. No scene. Just exhaustion. My dad snapped, "Where are you going?" I looked at all of them, my parents pretending to be victims, my brother smirking, and said quietly, "Somewhere I don't have to earn basic respect." Then I walked out. No one followed. The laughter behind me started again, as if I'd never been there at all. That was the moment I knew this family would never change. When I got home that night, the silence felt heavy, like it was pressing against my chest. I dropped my keys on the counter and just stood there, staring at the empty apartment. No cake, no candles, no laughter. Just the dull hum of the fridge and the faint echo of my family's voices still bouncing around my head. I sat on the couch and replayed every moment of that dinner, the way they dismissed me, the way my brother smirked when I walked out. Each memory replayed sharper than the last. I grabbed my phone, scrolling through old photos out of habit, and there it was, the pattern I'd been too blind to fully accept. Photo after photo, Ethan blowing out candles on custom cakes, unwrapping gifts, surrounded by smiling faces, and then mine, plain dinners, half-hearted smiles, blurry phone pics, no gifts, no celebrations, just existence. It hit me harder than I expected. For a while, I just sat there, numb. Not angry, not sad, just empty. I wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. Because deep down, I was done feeling small. Done begging for crumbs of affection that never came. That's when it hit me. If no one was going to celebrate my worth, then I'd damn well do it myself. Not for attention, not for revenge, but to prove to myself that I mattered. I opened my laptop and started browsing. I didn't even know what I was looking for. Maybe something symbolic, something that screamed, "I made it without you." That's when I saw it, a listing for a used car. The kind I used to dream about as a kid when my brother got his first ride. I stared at that photo for a long time. A quiet fire building inside me this time. I wouldn't wait for permission to feel proud. I'd give myself the gift they never thought I deserved. The next morning, I woke up with that same dull ache in my chest, but something was different. The sadness had burned off overnight, leaving behind this sharp, focused clarity. I sat at my desk, opened my bank app, and started doing the math. My savings weren't massive, but they were mine. Every dollar in that account came from late nights, skipped weekends, and sacrifices my parents never once acknowledged, for years. I thought I needed their approval to feel accomplished. But as I stared at those numbers, I realized the truth. I had built my entire life without them. Every step, every small victory, was mine alone. That realization hit me harder than any insult they'd ever thrown. It wasn't sadness I felt anymore. It was power. I started researching not for gifts or vacations, but for something that represented independence. Something that said, I don't need you anymore. That's when I found it. A deep blue sedan, sleek but not flashy, used but in perfect condition. It wasn't just a car, it was a symbol of everything they denied me and everything I'd earned anyway. The price made my heart race. It wasn't cheap. I'd be dipping deep into my savings, the same fund I'd built as a safety net for emergencies. But then I thought, what's more of an emergency than realizing your worth has been neglected your entire life? So I booked the appointment. As I clicked confirm, I felt something I hadn't in years: excitement. Not the kind that comes from hope or approval, but from knowing I was finally taking control of my own narrative. This wasn't just a purchase. It was a declaration. A promise to myself that I'd never again wait for someone else to tell me I mattered. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing, not friends, not coworkers, not even the one friend who usually talks me out of impulsive decisions. This wasn't about showing off. It was something sacred, something I needed to keep to myself until it was real. For once, I wanted to do something entirely on my own, without commentary. Without doubt, without someone telling me I was overreacting or wasting money. Every step of the process felt like therapy. Sitting in the dealership's waiting area, filling out paperwork, I kept hearing old echoes in my head, my dad's voice saying, "You'll never be responsible enough for real things." My mom's, "You always want too much." Each signature I made on those papers felt like erasing a lie they'd written into my life. When the salesman finally walked out with the keys, I swear the air felt different. The metal was cool against my palm, the weight solid, real. He smiled and said, "Congratulations, man. First car." I nodded, but what I wanted to say was, "First freedom." The moment I slid into the driver's seat, everything went quiet. The smell of the leather, the low hum of the engine, the faint vibration under my hands, it felt like the world was exhaling with me. Years of being overlooked, belittled, dismissed, all of it bled away with that first turn of the key. I sat there longer than I needed to, just breathing it in. No one had given this to me. No one could take it away. This car wasn't just transportation, it was proof. On the drive home, a plan started to form. I wasn't going to tell my parents. I was going to show them in a way they'd never be able to ignore, never be able to twist into guilt again. My next birthday came around faster than I expected, usually. I'd dread the day, waiting for that inevitable wave of disappointment when my parents forgot or sent a half-hearted text. But this time, I didn't wait for anything. I woke up early, made coffee, and looked out the window at my car parked in the sunlight. It gleamed like a quiet rebellion. Like every unspoken word I'd swallowed finally had a shape. I decided to celebrate my way. I cleaned the car until it shone, parked it against a soft golden backdrop near a lake, and set up my phone on a tripod. I didn't pose like I was showing off. I just stood there, calm, proud, free. When I looked at the photo afterward, it didn't scream success. It whispered self-worth. I opened Instagram, selected the best shot, and typed the caption slowly, "Happy birthday to me." Proud of how far I've come alone. No hashtags. No tags. No explanation. Just that, I hit post and put my phone away. Within hours, the notifications started lighting up: old classmates, coworkers, even distant cousins commenting things like, "This is inspiring, and man, that's how you do it." The likes piled up faster than I'd ever seen before. By evening, my phone buzzed again. A message from my mom. "Is that your car?" Then another from my dad. "Where did you get the money for that?" I stared at their messages for a long moment, then locked my screen. No reply. Because that silence, my silence, was the most powerful answer I could give. For once, I didn't need to explain myself, justify my happiness, or shrink it to make them comfortable. This birthday wasn't about being noticed. It was about proving I didn't need them to shine. I didn't respond to my parents' messages. And for a while, the silence felt incredible, cleansing even. But silence has a strange way of becoming power when you give it time to breathe. 2 days after the post, the ripple effect began. It started with my brother. He texted, "Nice car, man. Trying a little hard to prove something, though." I could almost hear the smugness behind the words. I didn't reply. Then came the group chat my mom sent along. Guilt-laced paragraph about how family is more important than money, and how some people forget their roots once they start doing well. It was the same manipulative script they'd always used. Guilt dressed up as moral superiority. I didn't take the bait. Meanwhile, the post kept spreading. A few relatives shared it on Facebook, writing things like, "So proud of how independent he's become," or "He really turned out successful on his own." Soon the comments turned curious. Did his parents help him? Wow, they must be proud. That's when I realized what was happening. My quiet little post had flipped the family narrative. For years, my parents had painted me as the irresponsible one, the problem child. Everyone was seeing the opposite, that I'd made something of myself without them. I heard through a cousin that my mom had been calling relatives, trying to clarify that they had some part in my success. But it was too late. Their carefully built image, the one where they were the perfect, selfless parents, was cracking under the weight of their own neglect. I hadn't planned revenge, but somehow it had found its way to them anyway. My silence spoke louder than any argument ever could, and this time, everyone else was finally listening. The call came late at night. My phone buzzed with my dad's name flashing across the screen. For a second I thought about ignoring it, but something in me wanted closure. I answered. He didn't even say hello. "You think you're better than everyone now?" he barked. "You've embarrassed this family with that post. Everyone's talking about how we didn't help you. You made us look like failures." I stayed silent for a moment, letting his anger pour through the speaker like static. Then I said quietly, "You did that yourselves, Dad. All I did was tell the truth, without saying a word. It only made him angrier. Don't get smart with me. You've always been ungrateful. Everything we did for you, and this is how you repay us?" Something inside me snapped, but not in rage. In clarity. My voice came out calm, steady. "Everything you did? You mean the years you ignored me while praising Ethan? The birthdays you forgot? The times you told me I wasn't trying hard enough when I was already doing everything alone?" My mom's voice cut in, trembling and dramatic. "Stop being cruel. You're tearing this family apart." I almost laughed. "You tore it apart years ago. I'm just done pretending the pieces still fit." Then Ethan jumped in, his voice dripping with disdain. "You sound like a narcissist, man. Always the victim." That word victim hit like a match to gasoline. I took a deep breath and said, "You taught me my worth was nothing. I just proved it's something." There was silence on the line, the kind that feels final. I didn't wait for a response. I hung up, blocked them all, and sat in the quiet. For the first time, the silence didn't hurt. It felt like freedom. Days passed, and for once, my phone stayed quiet. No guilt texts. No emotional blackmail disguised as family concern. Just silence. And it was beautiful. I didn't realize how much space they took up in my head until they were gone. Every hour that passed without their voices felt like peeling off another layer of heaviness I'd carried for years. On the third day, I took my car out for a drive. No destination, no rush, just me. The open road and the hum of the engine beneath my hands. The city lights blurred past like ghosts of old memories I was finally leaving behind. Every turn, every mile felt symbolic, like I was driving further away from the person they made me believe I was small. It's unworthy, invisible. I rolled down the windows and let the cold air hit my face. It wasn't about the car anymore. It was about the peace that came with realizing I didn't need them to validate my success or existence. That sound, the low, confident growl of the engine, felt like closure, like the kind of applause I'd been chasing my whole life, but never received. For so long, I thought revenge had to be loud, that I needed to shout, to prove, to make them understand the pain they caused. But now, driving in silence, I understood something deeper. Real revenge is peace. It's showing the people who broke you that you can rebuild without them, quietly and completely. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I caught my reflection in the rearview mirror. For the first time, I didn't see the neglected son or the family scapegoat. I saw someone who finally stopped begging to be seen and started seeing himself. Months have passed since that night, and life feels lighter than it ever has. My mornings start with coffee and quiet instead of guilt. I've been saving more, focusing on my career, even making new friends who actually see me for who I am, not who they need me to be. There's no more walking on emotional eggshells, no more rehearsing conversations that always end in disappointment. Just peace. My parents never reached out again. No apologies, no acknowledgement, just silence. But through relatives, I heard my mom once said, "We don't understand why he's so distant lately." That line made me laugh out loud when I first heard it. Because the truth is, they'll never understand. They spent years teaching me that my feelings didn't matter, and now they're just confused that I stopped offering them, Ethan. Of course, still plays the perfect son online, posting family dinners, tagging my parents, pretending everything's fine. Let him. That version of family can stay in the photos. I've outgrown the need to fit inside their frame. Sometimes, I still think about the boy I was, the one who used to sit quietly hoping someone would remember his birthday. I wish I could tell him that one day he'd buy his own gift, his own freedom, and his own peace. That he'd realize he was never asking for too much, just asking the wrong people. The car still sits in my driveway. Constant reminder that healing doesn't always come from forgiveness. Sometimes it comes from reclaiming your worth, piece by piece, mile by mile. They once told me I wasn't worth a gift. Turns out I was the gift they took for granted, and losing me was the price they never thought they'd pay.